So students, today we will start a new chapter, and the name of the new chapter is comparing quantities, as most of you already would know. Now, so let me start with that. We'll start off with the topic ratio, and all of you should already know about ratio. So what is ratio? It is simply a fraction which we use to compare things. That's just it. It's just a fraction. It's the same thing as fraction, and only thing, when we use the word ratio, we usually use it to compare things. Now in the last chapter, you would have already, there was a question of using ratios to compare ages and all, so you would have got an idea about what ratios already are. Now let us go to an example. Joyce ma'am and Prinny ma'am both had their own poultry farms. Okay, now poultry is hen farms, or no, okay, hen farms. Okay, so Joyce ma'am and Prinny ma'am both had their own poultry farms. Joyce ma'am gets 20 eggs from her farm, and Prinny ma'am gets 25 eggs from her farm every day. So let us put Joyce ma'am and let us put Prinny ma'am here. So we can see that Prinny ma'am gets 25 eggs from her farm every day, and that is pretty nice. She gets more, right? Uh, but if I add this one more statement like this, Joyce ma'am has a total of 22 hens in her farm, and Prinny ma'am has a total of 52 hens in her farm. What do you see here? What do you see? You see that let us write the math down. Let us ask Prinny ma'am to write the math down. So out of 22 hens, Joyce ma'am gets 20 eggs. Out of 52 hens, Prinny ma'am gets only 25 eggs. Now it looks a little different, right? Till before it looked like, okay, Prinny ma'am was getting 25 eggs, but now doesn't the situation look a little different? Joyce ma'am only has 22 hens, and from that 22 hens she's getting 20 eggs. Good enough. But Prinny ma'am has 52 hens, and from that 52 hens she's only getting 25 eggs. So we can see that this is a more successful amount, and therefore Joyce ma'am is more successful, and let us give her the reward. Okay, so what do you see here? And we had two ratios, 20 by 22 and 25 by 52, and we could compare them because we knew the story behind it, right? That is one reason how we could compare them. And also those fractions were kind of simpler. But suppose I'm giving you two ratios like this, 2 by 3 and 4 by 5. How can you tell me which is greater by just looking at it? How can you tell me which is greater? Which is a greater number? Is this a greater number or this a greater number? How can you tell me? And to see that, there are different ways of doing it. One method is just divide them. 2 divided by 3, and that you get, take the decimal, you get 0.66. Pretty nice. Then do the same thing with 4 by 5, and you get 4 divided by 5 is 0.8, and you can say, oh great, 0.5 is bigger one. That is one way of doing it. Another way is, as most of us do, take LCM. So 3 into 5, 2 into 5, and make the denominator same. 5 into 3, 3 into 5, make the denominator same, multiply numerator denominator with the same thing, and you get 10 by 15, and here you get 12 by 15. And of course, by looking at it, because the denominator is same, we know that 12 by 15 is the bigger one. Okay, so this is another way of finding which is the greater ratio. But suppose now we had to do all this LCM to find out. But suppose all around the world there was just one way of finding it. There was one denominator, one constant denominator. Suppose there was one constant standard denominator, or in all countries, all over the world, in which we could find it. And yes, there is. And that standard denominator in the world is called 100. So now what happens? When the denominator is 100, a ratio becomes a percentage. Now, again, percentage comes from the Latin language. It comes from these two words, per centum. This word percentage comes from the Latin words per centum. Per is also used in the English language. It is called, the meaning is by, per meaning is high, by, I'm sorry, and centum, the meaning is 100. And you would already know the century, for those who watch cricket, they will know that he's got a century, and all the century, all comes from the word centum, which in Latin it means 100. So percentage comes from per centum, which means by 100, and that means by 100. That means the denominator is 100. So you get it, how the word is formed. Now, percentage, and it is always related to 100. That means divided by 100. Now there's a symbol for percentage, and how to write the symbol for percentage. It's pretty easy. You take this one, take the one, put it in the middle. Let me put it in the middle. Make that one very big, and voila, you get the percentage symbol. Now if I write it a little more neatly, it will become like this. Okay. So now you have so what is 25%? Simply 25 by 100, making the denominator 100. So what is 50%? 50 divided by 100. And now you would say, sir, let me give you a hard one, 17.5%. That looks hard, but it is not hard. It is just 17.5 divided by 100. So it is percentage is the one with, or 60%, 70%, whatever it is just the numerator of a fraction whose denominator is 100. Okay. Now, you heard of these three terms: fraction, percentage, decimal. Now let me just take a percentage and give an example of a percentage. Let us take 30%. Okay. Now how to write this 30% in the form of a fraction? 30 by 100, right? Now if I divide 30 by 100, what do I get in decimals? 0.3, and that is my decimal format. So what do you see? All these three things are the same, right? 0.3 is 30%, because 30% is 30 by 100. So you see that all these three things are the same. What do you understand? Fraction, percentage, decimal, ratio, all these things are the same because they are representing the same thing in different formats or in different forms. You get it? The same thing, we're just writing in different forms depending on the circumstance, depending on the usage. Now percentage usage is a little more easier, and you will come to know why it is a little more easier. Now I'll just show you one example later onwards, and then in another video I'll show you why it is a little more easier. Okay. Now look at exactly what is happening. So for that I will give you an example. There are 40 students in class 9. There are not actually. There are not, but just for this question. Suppose there are 40 students in class 9. 25 of them are girls. Okay. And again, this is just assuming this is not the real scenario in class 9, but suppose 25 of them are girls. So I'm asking you, what is the proportion of girls? Or what is the ratio of girls with respect to the whole class? If I'm asking you, so you would say, sir, it is 25 divided by 40. 25 girls are there out of 40 students. And yeah, but looking at it, I know that I can simplify this fraction. So let me simplify it. 25 divided by 5, that will be 5, and 40 divided by 5, that will be 8. So I get the fraction 5 by 8. So this is my simplest ratio. Okay. Now what if I am asking you, can you give me that in the form of a percentage? So what do? Just multiply by 100. Just multiply the whole thing by 100. Now what happens? You get 0.625 into 100, which is 62.5%. Remember to always put the symbol. When you write 100, you don't have to put the symbol, but whenever you don't write 100, you have to put the symbol. Okay. Yeah. Now let me show you what exactly is happening. Okay, 5 by 8, that is, you take a circle, divide it into 8 parts, shade 5 parts, or take away 5 parts, you get 5 divided by 8, 5 parts out of 8 parts. Now what is happening when I am making it into a percentage? I am multiplying by 100, and what is happening that time? This circle, I'm taking the same circle, and instead of dividing it into 8 parts, I am dividing it into 100 parts, and then I am choosing this much part itself, the 5 by 8 part itself, this 5 by 8 parts itself, the same area I'm shading here, so it comes like this, and that is, now because here there was only 8 parts, this total became only, this shaded area became only 5 parts. But because this full circle is divided into 100 parts, this same area here, it became 62.5. You get it? And that is what happens when you are making a fraction into a percentage. That is what happens when you're multiplying it. So whatever when we say 30 by 100, you are making that, okay, I have a fraction 1 by 2. What is that 1 by 2 when the denominator is 100, when there are 100 parts? That is what you are finding out. Now if you look, this is a shopping website, and if you go, they don't use fractions, they always use it in the form of percentage. So up to, you see, up to 70% off, up to 30% off, you see this. Okay, now, so that is all about percentage, and in a later video I will help you in solving a few questions regarding percentage. I will also try to show you why percentage is easier, or why the usage of percentage is easier, and why is it used worldwide. Okay, thank you.